a tragic accident claimed a girl's life instantly and shattered 3 families. The father remained steadfast in his belief that his daughter was innocent, launching a relentless and obsessive crusade for accountability. The incident was blown out of proportion by the media, dragging the store manager, the driver and the school teachers and everyone involved into a violent storm of public scrutiny. Ultimately, it created a cruel reality where everyone is a victim, yet everyone is also a perpetrator. No one escapes unscathed as everyone is dragged into the abyss. In the end, there are no winners, only devastation. This is the film Blank. The story begins. 14-year-old Canon is picking out nail polish at a supermarket. Suspecting her of shoplifting, the manager, Aoyagi, grabs her and tries to take her to the office. Terrified, the girl breaks free from his grip and bolts out of the store, with Aoyagi in hot pursuit, driven by fear on one side and a sense of duty on the other. The two chase through several streets until they reach the highway. A panicked Canon darts across the road. Aoyagi stands frozen, while the female driver is paralyzed with shock. Coughing up blood, Canon tries to stand. Aoyagi rushes forward, trying to pull her off the road to avoid secondary injury, but he's a moment too late. The screech of brakes pierces the air as Canon is swept under a truck, her blood staining the asphalt. Aoyagi is paralyzed. He only meant to catch her and get the truth, but instead, he caused a young life to vanish. This moment is the catalyst for the entire tragedy. A minor action by Canon leaves her forever branded as a thief, spiraling into an irreparable social tragedy. Upon receiving the news, the father Furuta rushed to the hospital and demanded to see his daughter one last time, but the police advised him against it. The body was too severely mutilated to be identified, but as a father, how could he not see her? The sight of his broken daughter left him instantly overwhelmed by a wave of agonizing grief. It was as if his entire world had completely collapsed at that very moment. The female driver's mind went blank. She stared vacantly and stammered under police questioning. Her eyes were empty and her words were incoherent.
I was following the rules of the road. I was just driving. And then suddenly, I was traveling at about 90 kilometers per hour. In those last 2 kilometers, there was no speed limit. Who could have known? I just want to take it back.
The truck driver, on the other hand, stated it was impossible to stop in time. News of the incident quickly spread through the town. The media were quick to report on it. You can hear the reporter recounting the events in a chillingly detached tone. A girl caught shoplifting ran away from the store manager only to meet with a devastating tragedy while crossing the road. The incident was sensationalized by the media, which for Furuta, who had just lost his daughter, amounted to nothing less than secondary injury. The word shoplifting cut through the father's heart like a knife. Mamoru Furuta was certain his daughter would never steal. He was convinced she was being framed. Aoyagi arrived at Kanon's funeral to apologize to Mamoru, admitting his mishandling had led to the tragedy. He also mentioned that the supermarket had been plagued by shoplifting before, and they had indeed stepped up security measures to prevent theft. But Furuta was quick to pick up on the bitter implications behind those words. Are you implying that my daughter was a shoplifter? Aoyagi hurriedly explained that wasn't what he meant. Furuta refused to believe that his daughter would ever steal a tiny bottle of nail polish. Losing all composure, he aggressively demanded that Aoyagi produce evidence.
Come on, look at me. Look at what I'm dealing with today. You're the one in the dark here.
He's just making things up. He's obsessed with the money. He's lashing out at everyone for no reason. I'm beyond furious with him. Aoyagi mumbled a faint apology, but the situation spiraled out of control instantly.
In front of the media, Aoyagi was condemned for acting without any proof. He was slammed for his lack of sincerity and for failing to show any real remorse. As he spoke, Furuta reached his absolute breaking point. He unleashed all of his bottled-up resentment and rage onto Aoyagi. He even made reckless accusations, claiming Aoyagi had tried to assault his daughter. He claimed Aoyagi only framed her as a thief because his advances were rejected. Grabbing Aoyagi by the collar, he roared, "What the hell did you do to my daughter?" Early the next morning, Furuta found his car plastered with spiteful notes. They were filled with insults, calling him out and labeling his daughter a thief. Meanwhile, the supermarket was defaced with graffiti, pervert monster, and child bully. Business plummeted, as even long-time customers were too afraid to return. The magnifying effect of the internet and the media transformed justice into a new form of violence. In modern society, where trust and empathy are scarce, nothing remains but suspicion, blame, and alienation. There is no clear-cut villain yet. Everyone has become a victim. Furuta went to the school and accused the entire faculty of negligence. He was convinced his daughter had been bullied, recalling that before the incident she had told him that things were becoming difficult for her at school. He was convinced that someone had coerced her into stealing. The school launched an inquiry, and teachers questioned many of the students, but they ultimately came up empty-handed. Most of her classmates barely knew Kano. She was a loner and kept to herself. Bullying Mamoru claimed existed had never occurred in her class or the school. By evening, a swarm of reporters looking for clicks besieged the house, hounding Mamoru for the truth. Did his daughter really steal the nail polish or not? Pushed to the brink by the interrogation, Mamoru finally snapped, losing his temper and lashing out with profanities. His ex-wife pleaded with him to stop so their daughter could rest in peace.
What on earth are you doing, don't you see? Canon is gone, what are you doing this for? This really for Canon? Unable to bear her words, he barked at her to get out. Earlier the next morning,
the driver, accompanied by her mother, came to apologize to Mamoru.
Wait, how did you know it was me?
I'll happily do. I won't ruin you. I need your pity. I can manage on my own. We are deeply sorry. Sorry for what?
Right now, I currently...
But Mamoru refused to listen later. He returned to the school after reading the anonymous student surveys about Kano. He was chilled to the bone. His daughter had always been a ghost at school, never speaking to anyone. Bullying simply couldn't have been the cause. Just as he was leaving, a teacher mentioned something to him. A student once claimed that 3 years ago, her older sister had been harassed by that supermarket manager. Meanwhile, the supermarket is on the brink of bankruptcy and stands deserted.
How are you feeling right now?
I want to say more. I can't say any more than this. Are you saying she didn't cause any trouble for us that day?
But as a victim of shoplifting, you must be suffering as well. Isn't it difficult to handle the situation?
Speaking of this shoplifting incident, a young life has been lost. Don't you think you should reflect on your actions? It shouldn't be that difficult to fulfill your responsibility. Soon after,
An interview with Aoyagi is aired on the news, but it has been maliciously edited, making the segment highly misleading. Host uses sharp inflammatory language to fan the flames, claiming the manager still refuses to admit fault, and was even seen smirking. Watching from home, Furuta's rage is instantly ignited, and coupled with the teacher's earlier remarks, he becomes even more convinced of his suspicions. The next day, he storms into the supermarket, shoving nail polish into a bag to bait Aoyagi and see how he reacts. Thinking Furuta is just there to cause trouble, Aoyagi tells him to leave or he'll call the police. Furuta roars, "My daughter was here. Why didn't you call the police then? Instead, you dragged her into your office. You clearly had ulterior motives." Aoyagi stops trying to explain, knowing it is futile at this point, and can only plead with him to leave the store. That evening, just as Aoyagi is about to eat, Furuta suddenly sits down beside him, hurling one sarcastic remark after another. Having such a guilty conscience, yet you still have an appetite. Seeing Aoyagi remain silent, Furuta's words grow more vicious as he closes in.
Nice. I'm going to see her.
I'm going to follow you wherever you go.
Helpless Aoyagi leaves without even finishing his meal. To his surprise, Furuta follows him closely. Aoyagi quickens his pace in his rush to escape. He is nearly struck by an oncoming car. From then on, Furuta becomes like a ghost, stalking him everywhere every day. Determined to make Aoyagi live in eternal guilt, a senior clerk at the supermarket, unable to stand it any longer, goes out to reason with him.
I can't let you get any closer to him. I brought everything over. Shouldn't you try to find some joy somewhere else? Instead, right? What?
Oh, you're really something.
What's even more outrageous is that Furuta even calls an ambulance claiming that Aoyagi is mentally unstable and trying to have him forcibly taken to the hospital. He is driving Aoyagi to the brink of a total breakdown. Since then, even when Aoyagi witnesses someone shoplifting, he can only choose to turn a blind eye. The female driver approaches Furuta again that day to offer her apologies. Though the law has already cleared her of any liability, he still desperately hopes for Kanon's father to forgive her, but the father remains indifferent. While everyone focuses on the manager and Furuta, no one realizes that the person truly suffering in silence is this driver, ignored by the media's lens. She struggles desperately in the darkness alone, and Furuta's stubbornness becomes the final straw that breaks her. Returning home, Furuta opens his daughter's photo album and is stunned by what he sees. In every single photo, his daughter's face has been scribbled over in black ink. He immediately contacts his ex-wife, asking if their daughter was being bullied at school. His ex-wife replies that she wasn't bullied. She was the one who blacked out her own face.
I finally had a chance to meet with you. She had so much she wanted to say about how much she's grown. She's become quite a beauty.
She mentioned Telegram and WhatsApp, but before she could finish, the call was abruptly cut off. It's clear that he is incapable of even listening to his ex-wife. That evening, he confronts Aoyagi, again pressuring him to tell the truth. Unable to bear the pressure, Aoyagi drops to his knees, kowtowing repeatedly an apology, but Mamoru Furuta still refuses to accept it, prompting a broken Aoyagi to ask, "What on earth do I have to do for you to let me go?"
This was the report given to me at the morgue.
Lacerations and massive internal hemorrhaging, severe trauma caused by the impact, extensive crushing injuries to the vital organs. Later, Aoyagi takes him to the site where his daughter's accident occurred. He recounts every detail of Kanon's accident word by word, yet Furuta still won't let him off from the very beginning. All he wanted was for Aoyagi to admit he intended to molest Kanon. Just as Aoyagi was beginning to emerge from the shadow of the accident, Furuta drags him back, step by step, to the heart of the nightmare. Furuta stands behind him like a judge pronouncing a sentence. He reads out the gruesome details from the autopsy report. Multiple compound fractures in the lower limbs, complete dislocation of the pelvic joints. By now, Aoyagi has reached his breaking point. He walks straight toward the highway, intent on suicide. Fortunately, a driver brakes just in time, sparing his life. From the start, he endured cyberbullying, the closure of his store, and the ruin of his family. Ultimately, unable to withstand the weight of public trial, he sought only the release of death. Luckily, the woman appeared just in time to save him. At that moment, he finally breaks down, clinging to her and sobbing uncontrollably. Meanwhile, Furuta received a call someone had committed suicide because of the incident. It was the female driver. Despite being cleared of fault, she was consumed by endless guilt, unable to find forgiveness and haunted by nightly nightmares. She couldn't go on. To find peace, the young woman chose to end her life, leaving her mother in utter devastation. Furuta attended the driver's funeral.
Let me give this back to you. Is this the outcome you wanted? Are you truly happy now? Are you satisfied now that my daughter is gone? It was all my responsibility, and I failed her. I was so shocked by everything that happened. What else is there to say to someone like you? You should go and tell him yourself. You understand the pain I'm feeling. I'm so blinded by tears, I can't see anything anymore. The sorrow and the agony when everyone is just watching this tragedy. It must be. Please just sit down. Stop clinging to those lies. As he stared at the portrait of her radiant, smiling face, his hardened heart began to crack for the very first time.
He never realized that he wasn't the only one suffering in this tragedy. Returning home, he sifted through his daughter's belongings, trying to piece together a life and reconnect with the daughter he realized he never truly knew. Meanwhile, after relentless harassment, threats and financial ruin, Oyagi finally decided to close the family supermarket that had stood for decades. While sorting through his daughter's things, Furuta Mamoru found a bottle of nail polish hidden in her pencil case. At that moment, he finally learned the truth. His daughter really had shoplifted it. The next day, he went to see Aoyagi and offered a long overdue apology.
I finally understand now. Everything about my daughter. All the things I thought I knew were wrong. To be honest, I was completely blind. How could I have been so distant? I just lashed out because of my own frustration and rage. And now, I finally understand.
In the end, Aoyagi finally received the father's forgiveness. Only then could this tragic chapter be closed. While the girl's death is a tragedy, the fact remains that she did shoplift the nail polish. Excruciating pain of a father losing his daughter is something anyone can understand, yet he blindly shifted all the blame onto others. Using aggression and harm to mask his own parental failings was far from responsible. He spiraled deeper and deeper into his own rage. It wasn't until the very end that he grasped his daughter's loneliness and lack of love. The father eventually achieved a painful self-redemption, but it came at the cost of his daughter's life and the shattering of another family. This is a film that is atmospheric, oppressive, heartbreaking, and rawly realistic. The victim's father was crude and overbearing. He was a man of toxic masculinity who showed little concern for his daughter. Fortunately, he wasn't inherently a villain. The female driver, who was never truly the culprit, ultimately chose to take her own life. Her mother's subsequent apology was profoundly heart-wrenching. The film offers no final judgment on who was right or wrong. It simply lays bare three cruel truths: void in family bonds, a father who never truly knew his daughter, a void in responsibility where everyone evades blame and no one takes a stand, a void in humanity, a media circus fueled by indifference that leads to character assassination. It was a case of collective murder, where no single individual was the killer. All these tragedies stem from the blanks that exist between us all, a blank that can never be filled.